An informative speech conveys knowledge, a task you've engaged in throughout your life. When you're giving directions, you convey knowledge. When you caution someone about crossing the street at a certain intersection, you are describing a dangerous situation. An informative speech does not attempt to convince the audience that one thing is better than another. It does not advocate a course of action. It simply describes. The purpose of informative speaking is to educate or teach your audience about a certain topic. A good informative speech conveys accurate information to the audience in a way that is clear and keeps the listener interested in the topic. Achieving all of these goals, accuracy, clarity, and interest, is key to your effectiveness as a speaker. There are several ways to accomplish this, and we'll cover them here. You should use several of these ideas in your speech. Using just one technique will make your speech rather one-sided and flat. In informative speaking, we avoid expressing an opinion. This doesn't mean you may not speak about controversial topics. Of course you can. However, if you choose to do so, you must deliver a fair statement on each side of the issue. You must not take sides, and you must not slant your explanation in order to influence the opinions of the listeners. Let them make up their own minds. This can prove difficult with some topics, which makes topic selection all the more important. Remember, the audience is the reason for the speech, so cater to their needs. If your speech is too complex or too simplistic, it will not hold the interest of your listeners. How can you determine the right level of complexity? Your audience analysis is one important way to do this. Never assume that just because your audience is made up of students, they all share your knowledge set. If you base your speech on an assumption of similar knowledge, you might not make sense to everyone. Practicing your speech in front of a few peers will help you understand if the words you've chosen correctly express what you intend. I'm sharing 5 tools you can use in your speech to inform any audience. You should use more than one kind of evidence to have a well-rounded speech. Number 1, definitions. Definitions are valuable techniques for informing your audience by explaining the essence, meaning, or purpose of objects, people or groups, events, processes, or ideas and concepts. Important to have, especially towards the beginning of a speech. Explanations are used to provide clarification on the causes or context of something to make it more understandable. Focus on the demographics of your audience to adjust the explanations according to their background. Explanations work well on speeches about processes, speeches that trace the emergence of an event, or speeches that illustrate how something works. The third tool is descriptions. Descriptions work to paint a mental picture. When using descriptive words, focus on the demographics of your audience so you meet their needs. Descriptive statements achieve a maximum impact with vivid language, visual aids, and details that evoke the audience's senses. Number 4, demonstrations teach how a process works. When using demonstrations, it is useful to use physical modeling to lead the audience through the process. You should also repeat steps to help the audience retain information and consider the location and the audience size. After all, can they see what you're demonstrating? And finally, narratives. Narratives present a brief story that entertains while it informs. Make sure narratives support your thesis or main message. Make sure it relates to the common issue so that you can connect with your audience and the story sparks the interest of this audience based on their demographics. I've found there are about 5 types of informative speeches. We can divide them into categories, so let's go over them here. The first is objects. The term objects encompasses many topics that we might not normally consider to be things. It's a category that includes people, institutions, places, substances, even inanimate objects. You'll find it necessary to narrow your topic about an object because, like any topic, you can't say everything about it in a single speech. In most cases, there are choices about how to narrow the topic. In these examples, we have technical things, natural things, cultural things, even personal ideas can be the source of topic for your speech. Next, we have speeches about people. This category can apply to both specific individuals and also to the roles that we hold as people. In order to narrow the topic or to write a thesis statement, it's important to recognize that your speech should not be just a plain biography or a timeline of someone's life. If you attempt to deliver a comprehensive report of every important event and accomplishment related to your subject, then nothing will seem any more important than anything else. To capture and hold your audience's interest, you must narrow to a focus on a feature, event, achievement, or even secret about your human topic. Without a limited purpose, you will find with any of these topics that there's simply too much to say. Informative speeches can also be presented on historical or notable events. It can be something that occurred once or something that repeats. Again, you must emphasize the important dimension of the event. Otherwise, you run the risk of producing a timeline in which the main point gets lost. In a speech about an event, you may use a chronological order, but if you choose to do so, you won't need to include every single detail. Informative speeches may also explain about a process. It may explain or demonstrate something that is consisting of steps of stages that lead to a specific end result. For this type of speech, walk the audience through each step of the process. If your speech topic is a process, your goal should be to help the audience understand it or to be able to perform it. In either instant, processes involve a predictable series of changes, phases, or steps that you will want to explain to your audience. And finally, there are ideas. Informative speeches can also be designed around an idea, which could be a theory, a principle, a belief, or even a value. This type of speech needs to connect with the audience's interest and education level or existing knowledge of the idea, and could include anything here or whatever else you can think of. So are you ready? You should aim to create about a 5-minute speech with a visual aid such as PowerPoint. You'll need to create an outline and note cards to help you organize your thoughts as you research and speak. This speech should have a strong introduction, supportive research in the body, transition components, and a powerful conclusion. You'll find more information online and from your professor.